Okay. So once that gets going there, we're ready to go. Welcome back to another episode of Blessing and Cursing at our regularly scheduled timing. We have made precautions so we can watch and make sure we're actually recording this go around, so there'll be no more lost episodes. And we are excited to finally have this guest here today. We've tried this a few times, and this and that has happened, but God's found a way to make it here today. Welcome back to the show, Stephen Carter and his lovely wife, Josi Carter.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad it worked out.
Glad we finally got you guys here. Stephen had messaged a few days ago and said, "Hey, is everything still on for us?" And I purposely didn't message back just to build the tension.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting, and I don't know if that delay was purpose, but I was sweating.
It was.
Okay, well, it worked.
Yeah, we like to give you a hard time every once in a while.
So.
How's things been, man? It's been a while since you've been on here.
It has been a while since I've been on here. Things have been just chaos, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Everything going on with the house and work and kids. We're staying at my mother-in-law's. It's just been a hoot.
Been a hoot.
It has been a hoot.
Yeah.
So, but
how's things at the church going?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. We had James Hinkle. I'm not sure if he's watching or not, but he came and he did a lot of work at the church, put new lighting in. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
He did a nice little concert for us on Wednesday, which was awesome. And then
I watched it from work. It
was
great.
It was great. It was so good. I don't really know how to explain it other than the way it made me feel, and how God was speaking through him in every song, and it was, I feel like something that was needed, just to kind of, I don't know,
it was
calm
nice
the waters
and natural.
or whatever. And then we had Pat come in this morning and give the sermon, and it was a great sermon on Deuteronomy. That's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of made you quench a little bit, but it was awesome.
Yep.
The Lord was speaking for sure today.
A lot of people don't like reading Old Testament books outside of a Genesis and Exodus, and I don't either.
Yeah.
Especially whenever you get into the Deuteronomy and Leviticus, there are some very interesting, useful things in there, but we're not under that law that they established then, so it's kind of like, oh, cool in a historical context.
Yeah. And so, and then so this kind of like my Sunday school lesson this morning, which was not live streamed. Personally, I was gonna live stream it. The whole drive, I was in my mind. I was like, I'm gonna live stream it, this, that, and the other. But God had other plans.
Sure.
Because I said we're not gonna live stream it, or He said we're not gonna live stream it through me. But it was just, it was about 1 Corinthians 13 and how Paul gives us the true definition of love, and. Josie and I, we've kind of been at each other's throat. I wouldn't say fighting. I would definitely say arguing. But we have been at each other's throat since this whole process, since selling the house, buying the house, moving in to in-laws' house, moving things around. We don't have the clothes we need. We don't have, where's this at? Where's my toothbrush at? Where's my this at? Where's the shampoo at? And just at each other's throat. And last night, I did not have anything prepared for Sunday. And last night I was like, God, I need you to speak to me. Not so much on what I need to teach, but on what I need personally. And he took me to 1 Corinthians 13, and going through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, it was all about love. It was about Paul's definition of what love is and what love isn't. And it just was, it was like just a real tough blow. Not like it, but like you need to open your eyes and see where you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the thought. I had to write it all down. I had it it was all over the paper. After I was done with it, I was just writing things down. And I was like, I need to rewrite it so I can read it. And so I did. But one of the biggest things that I felt that was revealed to me is that love is not a feeling. You know, God didn't create us because he had a warm, fuzzy feeling for us. God didn't die on the cross for us because he just felt like giving us a great big hug and telling us it's all going to be all right. You know, and then going through it about how love is kind, love is long-suffering, you know, and then what it's not. And it's like, man, all of these things that love is not is how I've been for the past 2 months to my wife. You know, and I know Paul was talking about agape love, but that love spans all the, I mean, phileo, strove, we won't go into eros because that's
about to say, I don't think that covers eros.
No, but you know, and that just, that him revealing that to me last night was, it almost kicked the stool out from underneath me, you know, and said, you're not on the right path right
I didn't know
My
all that
hiding
stuff.
place.
Sorry,
now.
man.
So, Josie, when he discovered all this, did he actually sit down and talk to you about this, or did he wait till
It was this morning. He was like, "Oh, I got a good one. I got a good one today." I was like, "What is it about?" He's like, "I'm not telling you. You'll find out." And I was like, "Okay, this involves me. So good to know. Looking forward to this." But I was pleasantly surprised. It was very powerful, and I mean, I was definitely, you know, crying once we started praying together. And Annabelle and Jay both, like, we all just kind of held hands, and like they actually, for a 2.5-year-old to just stand there with her little hand on your hand for like 5 minutes is miraculous in and of itself.
Quiet.
So it was.
The only thing she was saying was, "Why are you crying?
Why you crying, Daddy?
Why you
crying?" Yeah.
It sounds like you've fallen into the minister trap of like having something to say but not being able to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was, you know, and like I said, God had just given me a moment where when I was, you know, I finished with that love endears everything. It's never ending, you know, and then, you know, faith, hope, and charity, or love, depending on which Bible you're reading from. And that the greatest is charity. And then when I got done with that, there was like a long pause, and I said, I want all the families to get together. You know, I said, Lucas, I want you to sit with your mom and your dad, and Annabelle, come sit with us, and I want all the family to get together and pray as a family together, and pray, ask God, where am I trying to do the love and not letting you do the love? Where am I getting in the way? You know, reveal it to me, remove it from me, empty me of myself, fill me up with you, break my heart, and create me a clean heart. And that's where it went, you know, but it just, I don't want to do all the talking.
Love's an action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. All the things that he says when he's talking about what is love, all those are actions.
Exactly.
And Christ showed his love. And then all the times that we think about love in our minds, it's really it's a thought or you know,
it's eros.
Yeah.
I like you know, that's the wedding verses. You hear that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I use that as well.
Mhm.
But I extend it all the way to the where there'll be prophecies, they shall fall, and all the things. And that gets weird looks from a lot of people because they're like, talking about love, and he's like talking about buildings and prophecies and stuff. And it's like, let me reiterate, love is the only thing that will stand. Love is the only thing that will last, because God is the embodiment of love, and he's the only thing that will last through that. And you try and get that through in a wedding, and you know, Jonathan had said, and I think Dean might have said too, that like they prefer funerals over weddings, and I never understood it until like the more you do, you're like, oh, I can't even talk about Jesus hardly because it's this people's day.
Yeah.
But that's the way I found to squeeze that in.
Yeah.
By adding that, you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, even though they may say, you know, we're both believers, we're this, that, and other, but they say, you know, like, this is our day and we want it to be about us. But in reality, everything we do should be about him, and you should be able to bring Christ in and show how that He brought them together and how He's going to hold them and how that all that it should be that way. But you're right.
Yeah.
With weddings, with the family, more so a lot of times than the people that's getting married, it's it's my little girl's day or whatever, and it's all about them, which is the opposite of what Christianity's all about.
I've never had one person I've done a funeral for complain about it.
That's true. I've only done one.
I think Corinthians is actually what we read instead of vows at our wedding.
Yes.
Many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool to hear it now, after all this time. But it was also great. What? You didn't know that? Yeah. All right.
People that listen on the podcast will not get to see that face.
He
that
did not
Stephen
know
just
that.
made.
That's fine. I mean, I could be wrong too. Honestly, it was a long time ago.
I'm pretty sure
We've been
I was
married
just
for how
trying
long?
really hard not to pass out.
Been married? Yeah, you were. I was like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop rocking.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
When we got married, like literally before the wedding started, my uncle came up and he said, "Don't lock your knees." And I was like, "Do what?" He's like, "If you lock your knees, you'll pass out."
Gosh.
So I'm sitting there just like wiggling my knees back and forth. Josie's holding my hands, and every time she's like snatching my hands.
You're embarrassing me.
Yeah, exactly.
That rule does apply for any time you're in front of anybody for anything. Is don't lock them. I've always wondered if you lock one, does it work? Like,
I've never heard this before that.
I've come to the realization though that I'm more nervous if I'm just standing behind the pulpit. But if I walk around the platform a little bit, I'm a little less nervous.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If I got some flow going, I'm a little less.
I always feel very
nervous.
constricted.
Yeah.
So we've spoken ad nauseum about Stephen and his ministry in the various time he's been here. So you're helping out with the music at.
I didn't say helping out. I'm just singing. I enjoy singing.
Well,
I'm just there.
You're putting your effort into it. You're not just staying out in the crowd with it. You're participating in that.
Yes.
So what's that been like for you as far as, is that something that you've always been a part of, or did that just kind of come about?
No, that was kind of my first act of submission after being saved. Pizza sauce on my shirt. Thanks, babe. So it was kind of, it was really essentially my first act of submission to Christ. I'd been thinking about it for a long time before then. I was feeling led and called, and but I was like, no, it's because it's, I was making it about me. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I wasn't willing to do it. And then finally, I was, I had that moment where I was like, Jesus, if you're not in me, be in me now. I want you and not me. And the next weekend, I sang at church, and I've pretty much sung almost every weekend since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She did the Holy Spirit in her did a really good job at Yet Not I, but Christ in me. And when there's been twice that I've seen her up there where it was just the Holy Spirit, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I cry every time she's up there. I cry.
Sounds like you.
Big cry baby.
Yeah. But it's just because of how beautiful a life is. When I say life, I mean her and I both together. A life under Christ. Mm-hmm. Because if I look back to how we were
dead,
we were both dead. Yep.
Oh man, and rotting. It was bad.
And,
it was a bad few years there.
It was, and then of course when we were in Florida, and I was traveling 1 to 1.5, 2 weeks out of the month, and she had Annabelle, who was 3 at the time.
And I was pregnant.
And then she was pregnant, and I was leaving. Our marriage almost hit rock bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to the point of...
The D word was flying.
We were both throwing it at each other. Of course, I was just throwing it to try to get under her skin and upset her. You hurt me, so I'm going to... She was serious. I was like, well, you hurt me, so I'm going to try to hurt you harder. And that's how... That's how... marriages that aren't in the right alignment, that's how they are. They want to hurt each other, and I just look back, I got saved and Christ just moved in, and he just moved in. Mm-hmm. And when I got saved, I was forcing her, like trying to change her heart and mind to go to church and this, that, and the other. Not saying that she wasn't, but I was forcing it, and I was pushing her further away from it, and then you realize that, like, you can't just submit some things to Christ. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to give you this, 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 and this. Here's my checklist. God gets this, God gets this, God gets this. I'll take my marriage because it's my marriage, and God gets this, and God gets this. He does. I'll take parenting, And then you realize at that point, it's like, and we went to the couples prayer advance, and, one thing out of that whole prayer advance that I walked away with was Dan Hawtrey was talking about the alignment. Yeah. And if the husband is in alignment with Christ, submitted, focused on Christ, the wife is submitted, focused on Christ, then the family falls in, submitted, focused on Christ. And then you have a complete Christ-focused, Christ-centered house. Mm-hmm. You're on the foundation that Christ spoke about.
Well, what was cool about that is, I think in the weeks preceding the advance, our marriage had started to come together, and we had started to witness that feeling, like just in our household, we were witnessing that, but we didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was. It was just things were just falling in line. Like that was it. There was less argument, less screaming, because we were very hot-headed people. We both are just like heavily feeling people. We're opposite everything else, but we both just feel everything very deeply, very strongly. We wear our emotions. But it was we were feeling that alignment, and just like once Christ, and then it was him, and then like I like finally, begrudgingly ended up I was just like, okay, I just ended up there. But it wasn't begrudging once it actually happened, but the process of getting me into alignment, because I am the most difficult person to I don't submit well.
Yeah, let's go further into that then, if you don't care. So we know Stephen's story. We've talked about that whenever he came on there, and kind of our introduction, and how you and Jonathan threw him in a closet at the coffee shop.
Beat him up real good.
Yeah, but you had the
come out with his heads.
you had the true blue come to Jesus moment in that time, and so you got to see this happen, and then so from your perspective, what happened from there to where you're at now?
It was a lot of wrestling with myself. I've always considered myself a Christian. I've always felt I've always tried to act like a Christian. I've always that's been part of who I am. So at first I was like, well, I'm already saved. It's no big deal. And then it was, why is he so different? Why don't I have any of these thoughts? Why don't I've never cared to open my Bible up to that point. Just never cared to. It was, I go to church or whatever when I do, but I still felt like it was part of me. And then over time, seeing the changes in him, and just feeling convicted in church, and it was just this nasty feeling in my stomach every day that I was like, something's not right here. I'm not who I thought I was. It was just a really not a fun feeling. But, I didn't, he was like, you're going to have to give your testimony. I was like, I'm not ready. I don't know.
That's a wonderful thing. Your testimony is.
I know. I just get nervous about these. This is something I really want to work out when we go to the prayer advance, is finding that, letting his confidence come through me, to speak about him. It's really difficult for me. I don't know why I get nervous. And
the thing that helped me most as far as giving your testimony, I had given a broken testimony even on the podcast the first time. That was me trying to give a testimony. But when we had the event in Kingston was when it was really revealed to me that when God said, stop giving your testimony and let me start giving mine.
Mhm.
Because your testimony, we say your testimony, but really it's God's movement. It's what God did, not what you did. You didn't do anything other than submit. And
Did you listen to Austin's message this morning?
I did not.
Because you're preaching it all over again.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh yeah, you should apologize.
It was yours.
No,
He should first, so
Yeah.
So what it is people overthink testimony a lot of the time, and some people think they've got it, and it's completely a wrong idea. If you break down what a testimony is, in truth, it is you are testifying about Christ in your life, and that's where the you part comes in there. But what happens is people get focused on themselves. And it's, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing that, which I'll tell you what I've done.
Mhm.
We've had this discussion. We're friends.
Yeah.
But what people forget about is that those things are tools to relate to another person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At
yeah.
that point, you go away, Christ comes in.
Right.
And it's no longer, I used to do this. It was Christ redeemed me from this.
Right.
I was addicted and he freed me from that.
Yes. Amen.
But if you're not familiar with that, used to that, and understanding context, we talked to Joe about this a lot.
We talk about Joe in front of him and
And
behind him.
behind his back.
there's no difference whether he's here or not.
He's
But
always here.
we had a discussion. I can't remember what it was about specifically, but we were talking about, there's parts of your testimony that maybe this person may not need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that was like, oh, well, you're hiding something from them. Not necessarily.
No.
It's, this isn't beneficial to them.
Yeah.
If anything, it's harmful at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's like, on this platform, how much of a testimony do you want to give?
Yeah.
If you're,
What the Spirit tells you.
and that's it.
Yes.
And it's that fine line that we walk. So I never try and force like, let's get to the nitty gritty. Whatever God's got for you, that's what He's got for you.
Yeah.
Just be obedient to the Spirit.
I know, and that's what I've been working with. That's been my whole just period of time since being saved has been these just getting back to the submission point, and then running away, and then submitting again, and then running away, and then submitting again, and that's kind of been, I'm like a yo-yo, and that it's hard for me to.
But that's like what Pat was saying.
Yeah.
About. It's gone. What was Pat saying?
Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
He said, "Turn to Deuteronomy."
Yeah.
Give me the passage and I'll tell you.
That's where you got to and stopped.
Yeah. I wrote a note about it. How it was 30, right? Carry on. I'll just find this. You guys can just.
I know.
30,
I keep
19.
getting nervous and just all of my words go away too right now.
So while he's looking for that, have you gotten the opportunity to speak at Vision for anything, to teach or anything there?
No. I mean, I gave my testimony at Vision. Finally, wrote it down. Had just kind of read it because I get nervous. I forget what to say. I don't know.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I like to have things written down because I'm a writer. That's. I mean, I don't write anymore except for emails, but that's what I got my bachelor's in creative writing. Mostly nonfiction and poetry. But so writing my testimony was a really great experience. And where I've gone from there, and really, it just has come down to like making it not about myself, and it's not easy. I'm a pretty independent person. I don't fall in line easily. Like only He can make me fall in line through.
Yeah.
It's just.
That's your testimony.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle though, trying, submitting.
That is I would honestly say, and this isn't scriptural, but that has to be one of the hardest things for people
What's that?
to submit.
Oh, yeah, that is
Because I would
scriptural.
say there is a lot, yes, but I would say that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of Christians out there that are Christians by title only.
Yes.
I was,
and that's
you
what.
were.
You're still in Sunday school now, man.
I didn't even film Sunday school. Now you're on my Sunday school.
Sorry.
Don't be
No,
sorry.
but that's the incredible thing
Yeah.
about God is that He ties these things together for
Yeah.
people that are involved together. Joe jumped in and said, "I agree. Too much of the testimony can hurt others. Just tell what Jesus has changed for you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we said that in the context of there's some people that if you reveal X part of your past before they know you, that may change the entire perception and push them away. And then there's other people, like we shared the first night we ever met, how, I was talking about how I was an alcoholic at one point. It really helped you out in that moment to talk.
Yeah. And yeah, that is true. This your spirit bore witness with my spirit as far as, I guess, that went.
Evidently, my spirit must have bared witness with Jonathan's spirit. The first time I met him, he was like, bleh.
Oh yeah.
Here you
Well, that's
are.
what I was telling. Like, sometimes it's just when
Okay, but
when
now
he's on
I mean,
you, it's just
we've
word
been
vomit.
friends. Seems like our entire lives.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. It seems like that. With all
I
of
think a
us.
lot of that too, your testimony doesn't even have to really be what you say, it's your actions.
Yeah.
Because, you were saying the change that he had, well, that was a living testimony that he
Absolutely.
put forth there.
Yeah.
And, since I've known you, to speak specifically to you, I didn't know really what was before, but I've been able to see a great already change in you. Kind of like with Chelsea. Whenever we first got to meet her, she was very, kind of timid and meek, which you never really were necessarily, but there's definitely been an evolution in that.
Yeah.
And now Chelsea's like kicking the doors, let's talk about
Right.
God.
Right. She's an amazing woman.
Let's talk about Jesus.
Yes. And I want to be there, and I'm hoping this women's prayer advance that I will get there, because I just respect her so much and look up to her, and it's just I just want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be able to speak. I want to I want to submit and have him speak through me. I don't want to speak. I want him to submit through me.
I know that you've helped out Savannah a lot spiritually, and being somebody that she can come to and have that friendship there. So that really, I can see that as like a, we talked about date nights, about how you guys need to go out again.
Yeah.
Every time she comes back, it's like an hour of like, this is what we talked about. This is the fun that we had, and that means a lot to her because really. With where we are at in our lives, we either have a bunch of friends that are newly married, not married, no kids involved, or they are in their 60s. And so, like, you guys are that middle ground for us. Not that Jonathan and Chelsea are in their 60s. But, that's kind of where it was. So to be able to have somebody that is able to relate to her in a spiritual sense, and then in just as a person sense, really helps her out tremendously.
Yeah, no, I love Savannah so much.
It's go ahead.
Sorry. We have a lot in common with with him moving into this pastoral kind of role, and then Savannah, she was honest about how she felt becoming a pastor's wife, and it's scary and it's nerve-wracking, and it's just like, I don't want to be that that person that's always, and I think I don't shy away from it as much as some people do, but of just like the greeting people and being like, hey, how you doing, even though I don't know somebody. I'm pretty much okay with that. But it was just good to talk to somebody else who was afraid of it, and but obviously she's blossoming herself, so
I can say you guys talked about the ministry life a lot more than we did whenever we were jumping into it, because I was like, are you ready for this? And she's like, do whatever.
I was like, no. Yeah. I told him straight up, no.
Well,
I
remember like,
he was scared
arguments.
To ask me.
Like, I remember arguments where we would be arguing about it. I'm like, well, what if God calls me to be a pastor? She's like,
nope.
Nope. I'm going to call him back and tell him he better cancel that.
That was a big old no.
Better cancel that plan. But, one of the greatest... Go ahead.
Sorry, that also... The reason that my immediate response at that point was before I had my, come to Jesus, get saved moment, and I was angry. Literally come to Jesus. But I was still mad. I was mad for a long time about the travel period when he traveled for work. That was so instantly when he said that, I'm like, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone again. I'm going to be alone with these kids, and he's going to be gone, and I am not doing it again. Like, I can't. So that was my initial response. It's like, that means that's just another way he's going to leave this family and not be here for us. And that's how I felt. I was scared. That's why I was scared. Yeah. But as I watched him grow, and Jonathan and Chelsea had kind of talks with me about how would you feel if he if we went this direction with him, and I was like, you know what, that's what God wants. I can see it. I can see it now. it's just another act of submission, even in that, where I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still get, like, especially my family, that, you know, I was a trendy kid. I hopped from, I was going to be a professional bicycler and professional skateboarder. And, you know, I was a hunter. I just was like, I always chased trends. And I think even in my family's case, like my sister, my mom and dad, they thought that this was going to be a trend.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, this is just to get him through, you know, whatever. And I'm not saying that that's what they think, but I know people that thought that, like,
Sure.
he's just trying to get through hard times, and he's, you know, turning to God, and then once he's back on his, you know, then he's going to turn back around and just be right back who he was.
He found Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
So,
and that was a period of waiting for me too. Before
Yeah.
I started to really believe that there was a change in him, I was just waiting. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, babe, okay, we'll see how you feel in 3 months. And then 3 months later,
Yeah.
3 months later, he's still the same. Read his Bible an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours every night while I'm sewing or doing whatever. And it's like, okay, well, no, this isn't changing. So now what do I do with myself?
Now what do I do?
So, yeah.
Dean hopped on there and said a testimony is simply telling what you know firsthand. Everything else is hearsay, which is absolutely right.
Yeah.
And especially if you break it down like that, you know, I can't give Phil's testimony because I wasn't there, but I was there for mine.
Yeah.
And you know, I can almost say that I can kind of give partial testimonies of the people I've been around because I can see those things. But it's, you know, really at the heart of that matter.
Yeah.
But you know, you were talking about how people might have thought that your walk with Christ was going to be a fad, a come and go kind of thing. And really, what is breaking my heart about that is, for a lot of people, it is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's two big differences. There's the you've gone to Winter Jam or some Christian festival that's music centered or something, and the spirit's moving and everybody's getting into it, and then you have this moment and it lasts for a week and then you're gone again. Or you get out there, you are true, but those people around you aren't there to support and fellowship, and you fall. And I don't think with the group that you joined yourself with, or God joined you with, that was ever going to be a possibility for that one. So it was going to be completely dependent on your reaction.
I think that, you know, because I always look back, and one of the things when I'm just kind of having my, not so much, you know, Matthew calls it a prayer closet, but really it's just it's a place that I can get away and I can just talk to my Father, you know, like you guys say, talk to my daddy. And that's the thing where it's like, God, you put me around these people to keep me accountable, and I have to thank him for that. I mean, I can't say I feel like, I don't want to say that I feel like if I didn't have you guys I would go back to who I was, you know, but I have people for the moments, for the times when I could easily slide, and there are times when it's tough, like going through all this stuff, stress, and like I could easily backslide, and if I did I probably wouldn't come back, you know, but then it's like, God, I thank you for having people around me that, you know,
I call you when they think they see your truck somewhere it shouldn't be.
So why do people go somewhere by themselves when they're going to commit suicide? You know, or do some, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. What we do as, I don't know how to word this either, sinners or disobedient children, or however you want to word it. And just like, you know, when your children, when they become very quiet and you can't find them, how many times are they doing something that you've told them not to do? Right? It's because they go by themselves and they get away and they get alone. And so what I think of that, and like people that, you know, nobody gets in front of a group of people. Now, they may get in front of a group of people and do something stupid and die, but they don't say, hey, you know, I'm depressed, I'm going to kill myself, and, you know, I just wanted you guys to be here. That's not what you do. You isolate yourself. So it's the same thing in the walk with God. If Satan can get you isolated, get you away from other people, other followers, and you're Tim, this is before your time, but Tim preached a message here, and he talked about they were at a campfire and there was all these coals, and somebody had threw in a stick or something, and it had knocked a coal out. Well, when it first rolled out, it was red hot, and it rolled over in the dark, Well, as it laid there, it started to cool off, and the light started going out, and then it got black, but it was still had fire inside, but the outside was completely black, and it was dying, and then he took a stick and took that stick and kicked it back over into the fire, and it just glowed back up again because it got back into the fire.
Yeah.
And so he talked about that and how that, we can't go out into the world and expect it not to affect us.
Right.
We go out, and of course it's going to affect us, and we affect it too, because he said where it had laid, it had burned a circle in the leaves. So it affected where it went, but it to survive, it needed to come back to the fire. And it was a really good testimony.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about
that.
that.
No, that's powerful, and that again is what Pat was talking about. So it just when talking about in Deuteronomy 30, he said it's so simple, but people just can't grasp it. Like if you had something so blatant, like if you go through that door, you're going to live eternally. If you go through that door, you're going to die. If you go through that door, you're going to do this. If you go through that door, that's going to happen. And we wake up that morning. Either we're going to wake up and go to God, or we're going to wake up and go to self. And if we wake up and we go to self, we're going to have a bad day. And it's going to gradually grow until we go back to God, until we go back to Christ. And of course, in our sense, we don't lose our salvation as saved Christians. But you can walk away, but you come back. It's so simple. It's so easy.
Did you find the verse in Deuteronomy?
I did, but I can't. I'm drawing a blank as far as everything he says.
She said she got it as soon as you find it.
They should let her read it.
Oh.
Yeah. You're not listening to
I
me.
know, right?
Yeah.
Messing up already.
Yeah. It's funny how their morning and it's not funny, but it's
funny.
encouraging
Yeah.
that you guys Sunday school and service and our Sunday school and service and just four of us talking, it's like we were all in the same service. It's like God was trying to tell the church this morning the same message, and we were just in different assemblies.
Yeah, that's how the Catholics do it, but theirs is from the Pope.
The Pope sends down the same
theirs
message.
is corporate.
Yeah.
But I just love that. Like I just think that's so beautiful how the Holy Spirit works.
Oh yeah.
It's
it used to
like I love when that happens.
It used to
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
to me it was always like I had found $20 in a pair of pants I hadn't worn in a while.
Yeah.
Because when I first started preaching regularly, like we wouldn't discuss things for a reason, and a lot of times I wouldn't even really, I don't want to say I wouldn't prep, I study, but I wouldn't prep a message until like Sunday morning, and I still don't do that. Dude, that's the most relaxing, stressful Sunday you'll ever have. Whenever you're like, no expectations, God's got this, but then you're like, well, what if he doesn't? But I would get up there and he would begin to teach Sunday school, and there was at least twice I know of I was like, hey, can you please stop at this verse? Because if you do this and it's slightly different than what I'm going to say, it's going to mess my whole thing up. Please stop. And it was awesome. I don't want to say I'm acclimated to it now because it still amazes me, but it's like finding that $20 again whenever it happens to you guys.
Well, we expect when we reach our hand in that pocket, we expect to find that $20.
Yes, yeah. Now it's like we're finding an extra $5 on top of it. So, did you find it?
No, I have no idea.
Well, we'll have to have Pat chime in.
Oh
He
man.
doesn't have Facebook, but
Pat, that's right. Pat.
Jonathan could.
Well, there was a lot. There was a lot
to take in.
Yeah.
But it was a.
And we like the building of callus, and how he said how if you miss one weekend of church, it makes it easier to miss another weekend.
Absolutely.
And then you miss another weekend, and you miss another weekend, and by that fourth weekend, you're like, do I really need to go back?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's so flippin' true.
I think it's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Is the number that is like a hard number. Like if you miss that many, the chance of you coming back is like.
Yes.
60-1 or
That's
something.
powerful. And you also spoke about like callus, how you just like building up a callus.
Building up a callus around your heart.
Yeah.
Hardening your heart.
Yes, and I am the queen of that. Just with Christ and with everybody, like I'm very quickly to build up
Josie.
walls and calluses. I am. I've always like had like a frozen heart or something. I'm like a really nice person, but I
If
don't.
you got a chisel
I don't
and a
mess
hammer.
around. I know. So
You know, in I think personally, this is me personally, and I think that Satan takes a distraction and uses your brain to manifest on it.
Sure.
Because it could be something like, in our case, we got the wrong cabinet shipped to us, and that's a moment where it's like,
vanities.
it's like,
yeah.
all right, well, God, you got this.
I think the problem is
But
in the name vanity.
I keep saying cabinet.
She's
No,
saying
because we
you
haven't
don't
got the
need-
cabinets
he's
yet.
saying
So
you
the
don't
cabinets
need
I'm still
vanity.
waiting on.
Yeah.
But you know, and then there's times when something will come up
They better
and
not be wrong.
it'll get stuck in my mind, and it's like, God, you got this, but you're not getting it fast enough.
Yeah, it's
Okay, and now I know you don't have it, you know, and it's just very simple to fall into that mental trap, I think, personally, because I say I've been depressed off and on, but I have been depressed, you know, and it, you know, Pat kind of made a point, it's like, he's like, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, and I still have these problems, so, you know, and you're a pastor, and you still battle with depression. So the thing, the mentality where people say, I just need to go to God, get me through it, and then I can go back to how I was.
No.
You know, that's not how that works. You know, because you know, and I think I actually think that when I was, or probably you would still consider me a babe, but as a babe, I would talk to Phil, and I'm pretty sure I talked to you, and you were telling me that like it doesn't get any easier. It's not like you get saved and God just makes your life like beautiful.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, oh, I just got saved and a mansion. You know, and it's I mean, we have a mansion in heaven, but it's not like, oh, I just got saved and look at my new Ferrari.
Yeah.
Or
What gets
I'm out of
beautiful-
debt, you know.
What gets beautiful is your emotional, your outlook, the things that you can't buy with money.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets reconciled here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's why our testimony that we have to give is because people are going to ask you why, when this happened, why when your cabinets come in wrong or your vanities, when they come in wrong, why did you not react the way everyone else reacts?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to give an account for that.
Yeah.
And that is a part of your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the part of when, like with Joe and them, when their child passes in a accident
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, why are you not standing out in the yard, you know, cussing God in a thunderstorm and saying, if you're real, you know, strike me down, you know, take me instead of my child or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why didn't I see you out there doing this as a neighbor? How come I seen you still going back and forth to church and God took your child? You know,
Mm-hmm.
those are the type of things that you're going to have to answer for. Those are part of your
Yeah.
testimony in life.
Yeah, and it's just it's just beautiful, like you said, and it's relieving in a sense to know that this situation could totally just trigger me, but the Prince of Peace lives in me,
Mm-hmm.
so I find peace in him.
Yes.
The Prince and King of Joy lives in me, so I find joy in him.
The ability is there.
Yeah.
You can either turn back to you and allow you to do what we do in those situations, or you can kill you and allow him to shine through you in that moment.
Not physically kill you.
And it doesn't. The peace that comes with that is good for you.
Yeah.
And everyone around you.
Man, and it's great.
But how many times do we choose the other though?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, it's like
That's what I was getting at, is the ability is there.
Yeah.
So if you see someone not choosing that, it doesn't mean that they're not a child of God.
It means they still have free will.
It just
and they're
means that they're
exercising
not they're not being a Christian at that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
They're still a child of God.
Right.
When the guy come back to his father, the
prodigal son.
prodigal son, he was that guy's son the whole time he was gone.
Yeah.
When he came back, and said, you're right. What I did was wrong, and I'm agreeing with you now that I was wrong.
Yeah.
That's what we do, and at that point we become Christ-like.
Right.
Yeah, we say this. I know we've said this on the podcast, and I know we've said it in sermons, and I know we've had discussions about it. The walk of faith doesn't make life any less troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to get flat tires. You're still going to have issues. You're still going to get upset. You're still going to have these temptations. But what it does is it changes the way you deal with it. It changes the perspective. It changes your experience with it. You're talking about it's not, I just got saved, now I have a Ferrari. It's I just got saved and I have a flat tire, but I have salvation, so the flat tire's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and so much of it is just the faith, like finally putting your faith in something that's not you. It is so hard to control everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a control freak, and it is so painful. But like that feeling that I can finally be like, you know what? It's not me. It's painful. I know it's more painful for you probably.
Control freaks on this side.
Exactly.
But just the feeling of like knowing that God He has plans.
Yeah.
He has plans, and it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I do. I mean. It's, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing to not have to when we went through the whole house selling and buying process, it was all in His hands. We were just like, whatever. If it happens, it happens.
So I could see that the 2 days that I was able to help you guys kind of pack up stuff and move a little bit, because I could see like the face of stress of like there's so much going on and so much still to do, but on the surface it was like, you take that box over there and we can get this over here and pack it up, and like we don't want to overload your trucks. We can all just go in one. You don't have to haul that. And it's like
we maintained that till like midnight the night before. And then we're like just like crying, and like babies are crying, and but we held together until that last week. We held it together. So
the way I saw it was, all right, I'm fixing to have people around me. Let's put on this cloak. Because I mean, at that moment. Even the moving at that moment, I may have been like, just move that. But inside,
you were panicking.
I was just in agonizing pain.
Yeah.
I was just
not physical pain.
I tested Josie. I asked her like 4 times to move the same box. I was like, okay, let's see.
Yeah.
If I ask 3 times, will she bite my head off? Or 4 or
that box
5?
One more time, I'll break his hip.
I don't even know.
I want to accidentally push him downstairs.
Call for Kemp. Phil fell.
Phil fell. I don't know how.
We don't know. Nobody was around. I don't know. We were outside talking.
Somehow or another, his legs got kicked out from underneath him.
I was doing my level best to keep it lighthearted by saying that your dog's hair was trying to kill me and that we could pack more stuff in the Ranger than you guys thought.
I was surprised with the Ranger. I'm not even gonna lie.
The Ranger surprises everybody.
We were so grateful. We still owe you lunch or dinner or something for sure.
He gave me the painter's tape on my hat. So
I think we could do a little. We'll at least take you guys to dinner or get you pizza or something one of these days, because we really did appreciate that more than we can express. It was a really rough. I mean, it was 30 days to get out of a house with 2 kids with absolutely like zero expectation that we were going to do this. It was literally like one weekend. Yes, one weekend. We were about to go to town the next weekend. I was like, we might as well just buy a house in Rockwood rather than put $50,000 to add another bedroom to our house, so we'd have 4 bedrooms. And like I said that, and then Jonathan like heard it, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are thinking about moving to Rockwood?" It's like I just said, like we might as well. Like that's all I said. Like don't get ahead. And then like by the end of the day, he sent me this video. Josie, this is your new home. I'm claiming this in God's name. Like this is your new home. Like literally said he claimed it. I was like, oh stop it. There's no way. This is it was a mess. It's 1980s, never been touched. No, that's not a home for me. I'm not going there. And then like we finally go to the property. property, and it's just this property is exactly where you can see yourself. 2 acres flat land instead of the ginormous hill at our old house.
With a creek.
With a creek. Like, I grew up with a creek, so that was like, okay, now we really want this flippin' house. So we had our house in the market like 5 days after I said, we could think about moving to Rockwood because we found this house that we had to get. And so we had to sell our house to get that house. And another 5 days later, I think, our house was under contract. And we got the house we wanted under contract, and we had 20-something days left to get out of that house. And it was all God. But like every step of the way, it was, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it because if it happens, it's His will. If it doesn't happen, it wasn't His will, and that's fine. Like, there was no point in time where I was stressed about that. I was stressed about getting stuff out, childcare, normal things, cleaning, but I wasn't stressed about where we were going to be.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you realize that.
Think of how much of a blessing it is too that you have Larry and Heidi there that you're able to live with
gosh,
the time, and you're not just kind of having to rent a motel room or something.
Yes.
And they're not boring.
Yeah. That is one thing you can say. I've met some boring people, but Heidi and Larry are not there.
No, they're a lot of fun. They've been amazing to let us have that. And,
I think through the whole thing with the house, though, is it has been... Oh.
Take my turn.
I can talk.
No, it is...
All right, let me shut this off.
It's been a learning and growing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've learned so much spiritually through this whole entire process. When we were... The whole, beginning of the house selling and buying... God revealed to me that through this whole thing, I've been praying in my will.
Mm-hmm.
God, I need this. God, I need you to make this has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I need this. I need this to go this way. And God's like, what about what I need? You're focused on what you need. You're praying for your needs.
Mm-hmm.
You're praying in your will. And then it was just like, man, I have been praying in my will.
That one hurts, doesn't it?
yeah.
And it was like, we talked about Ed Moore, and about his sermon that he gave at the men's prayer advance about vain repetition, and it dawned on me I've been praying that way. I've been praying repetitively like that, God, I need this, you know what I need, this, you know what I need, God, you know what I need.
And that's funny. Because I pray the opposite.
Yeah, and she was...
I honestly almost never ask for anything. I don't. I just thank Him. That is 95% of my prayers are just thank you, God,
because
for
he's a
my
good
family.
father.
Yeah.
Yes, He is. And that really is. And so, I don't want to ask Him because, He knows. He knows what I want. He knows what I need. He knows what's in my heart.
Yeah.
So I don't have to say it. So I just thank Him
In
for giving
everything,
Him the
in
things that are
prayer
in my
and
heart.
supplication,
That
giving
is
thanks always.
Such a mature prayer life, by the way.
Yeah.
There are people that has been, as an old pastor used to say, in the way, and he says, in the way, for 50 years that don't have that concept.
Yeah, that's huge.
That don't have the concept that He's a good father.
Yeah.
And if He knows what you need, the Scripture says He knows what you need before you
Before you
ask.
even ask.
Yes.
Yeah. So if He is this good father that we say He is, then why in the world do I keep having to beg Him for things that He knows I need?
Right.
Now, I may beg Him for things I want,
Or
Right.
for somebody to
but
heal.
if it's His will and my will, which should be the same,
Yeah.
is what you was getting at,
Mm-hmm.
then all I'm doing is thanking Him for, even if I can't see it.
Yes.
Go ahead and
Yes.
thank Him for it, because
Yeah.
I know that He's going to work it out for His benefit and mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly, for His honor and His glory.
There have been so many things that I was like, in the same vein, I don't really ask people to pray for me on things either.
I had to this morning.
What?
My Sunday school lesson was the first thing I did. It's like, I don't like doing this, but I need you guys to pray for me.
Oh, yeah, because you were hurting.
Yeah.
But, I did about one thing about work, which is, and I hated to do it because I was like, this isn't something I should be bringing, but I really needed it for my sanity, for just to get through life. I need something to change at my work, and it was a no. It didn't happen, and I was like, okay, Okay, and then you know what? A couple months later, everything changed, double what I was asking for at that time. And the whole
That's
time
the
I was
thing.
like, man, that stinks, but that's okay. You have another plan.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, did he have another plan?
Yeah.
And it
But
was
that's-
better than yours.
but
So
see,
much
I love
better,
that,
and
though.
it like makes me want to cry.
That makes me think of
This is a safe space to cry, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I do.
it makes me think, like, in that sense, it makes me think of Paul, like, please remove this thorn from my side, and
No.
God just saying, no, my grace is sufficient,
Right?
you know. And that's, can everybody, even Christians out there right now, if God said no to you, would you say thank you?
Right.
You know.
The great theologian Garth Brooks once sang a song. No, that's of course a jest. But
The great theologian Garth Brooks.
That is not what I thought he was going to say next after that. I was expecting a real great theologian.
No. So I used his song "Unanswered Prayers" as an example. Of course,
Yes.
he's talking about just some woman he didn't end up marrying.
Yeah.
But if you think of that concept and take Garth out of the picture and think about how
Focus, Phil. Focus.
we pray for God, I want this specific thing, and God says no, and we're like, I can't believe this. What have I done? What we start to go all of this.
After all I've
actually
done for
prayed
you.
for this and
Yes.
asked people to pray for this.
After
Right?
all I've
and
done for you,
then
God.
God comes full circle, and here's why you didn't get this,
Right.
because you were asking small.
Right?
And here's the big that I'm going to give you. Here's that something better.
Yeah.
Man.
It blows my mind. That's the only time that I'll ever use him as the example, because the thought behind the song is such a powerful thing. Because God is so much more than we are capable of being.
Yeah.
And he knows so much more.
Well, Kelly showed me her phone this morning, her little phone app. Her verse this morning was that his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. And I said, I'm glad you're reading those, but I said, do you understand what this means? And she said no. And so I was explaining to her that, whom it is that we serve, and how that if his thoughts were like our thoughts and his ways were like our ways, then he would be no better than us. And who would want to serve him?
Yeah.
And so that his thoughts are so much grander and bigger and past our thoughts and our ways, and he is God.
Yeah.
And so and I said, that's what it's trying to show you.
Yeah.
Not so much that he talks in a way that you can't understand, and he's some big God that's that's somebody that you can't approach or you can't touch. That's not what he's trying to say. He's saying that I am someone that you want to be your God, because I don't talk like you, I don't think
Right.
like you, I don't, it's much grander.
I'm glad God doesn't think like me.
Yes, and that's what I told her
Yeah.
this morning. I said, you wouldn't want God to think like you think, do you? And she said, no.
Right.
Yeah. God would look at me and say, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't want him to have our temperament or any of the things that
Yeah.
are us.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, talking about love is patience, because the God who lives and loves through us is patient.
But we're
If
not.
he had my patience,
Exactly.
I would have probably not have made it to 37.
I don't think humanity would have made it as long as,
Oh,
as
man.
if God
Wouldn't have
had
made
our
it past the
patience.
garden.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. That's true. One thing though that we're talking about, back to the First Corinthians, about envy, and envy murdered Abel. Envy cast Joseph in prison, and envy put Christ on the cross. That's something very powerful, because we all can be envious.
The old green monster.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just off in my head. So
That's how those things work, man.
yeah,
Envy's a manifestation of pride.
it's a
Oh.
sin. Envy is a sin.
Man, pride. That's another one. There's pride
Pride.
and submission and all these
Yeah.
these painful topics.
Yes.
Man.
The thing that I had to realize when I got saved about pride is that pride isn't just being a boastful, arrogant
No.
person.
Everything.
Anything that is focused on you
Yep.
is pride.
Mhm.
Even low self-esteem.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Pride.
Low self
Yes.
esteem. Where's your focus at? Right here.
So true.
You know, and insecurity was the same. Like, we go back and forth when I started being insecure.
I think you always were
I
insecure.
personally think that I wasn't.
I think you
Yeah,
were, or else
but-
you wouldn't have flip-flop trends.
Well, there's our revelation.
Yes.
She just read your
So-
DNA.
I know him better than he knows himself.
But anyways, enough of that.
So, but it's
We're gonna have a live action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I think last night I was like, I don't want to do the podcast unless it's gonna be marriage counseling. Like I just don't want it to. We were in such a bad place last night. But it's funny how it gets that way. It's like that, like 10 p.m. or like 9:30 or it's usually right before we're about to put the kids to bed. The arguments will start. Like something will start, like nitpicking at one of us, the other one, and then after they go to bed, what is this? Okay, fine, go ahead.
No.
What do you gotta say? What do you gotta say?
Hold on, let me get my marriage counseling.
So I know, please
Because
do.
she wants to talk about it as I'm falling asleep.
No, I know, and then it comes back when you're trying to fall asleep.
um,
But I mean, that's how it's been. And then by the next morning, like I'll be a little cranky for a minute, and then
Yeah.
he'll usually apologize.
You know,
or
it's like what I was talking about in the Sunday school lesson that you guys couldn't see because I didn't live stream it, was that, you know, when I used to pray, I would pray that God would break her.
I remember.
I would pray that God would change her heart.
Yeah.
I would pray that God would reveal to
and
her.
I could feel that in the way you would address
You know,
me and speak to me
and-
about salvation at
and-
that point.
And that was, like, I
Right.
had to also like, my prayer life has grown and is continuing to grow, and I love that, you know, but that was something that I needed to give that to God and say, you know. And last night, I was at a breaking point last night. She may not have saw it, but I was at a breaking point last night. I was like, I can't put up with this anger, you know, and of course it's me that's mostly angry and impatient and stuff. So I had no Sunday school lesson at all. I was stressing about that. I said, God, I need you to reveal to me what I need. Not for Sunday school, but I'm struggling.
Mhm.
And I need you to reveal to me what I need. And he took me to 1 Corinthians 13. And it was just like tearing layers off of an onion. You know, because it's like, what am I not? Man, I am all of those. What am I? Not any of those.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what am I supposed to be? I'm not. You know, and it was just the the realization that it's like, God, I need you to father. God, I need you to mother. God, I need you to brother. I need you to son. I need you to husband. I can't do it. And Jonathan has said multiple times, you know, we try to do it, we just mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better to let him do it because he's perfect at it. Like, I want God to do the loving through me because he is love. You know, and what better person to do the loving through you than the person who is love?
Mm-hmm.
What better person to be peace through you than the person who is peace? What better, you know, be happy is the person who's happy, and because I just mess it up.
So let's get back to when you were praying for her heart to be broken or whatever it was you were praying.
Yeah.
What if, now this is for myself too, I'm learning, this is a learning moment.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so what if the people that are in our lives that,
You can still use this with their fork.
yeah, it's okay. What about for the people in our lives that are lost, that we want them to come to salvation? What if we, what is the one thing that we know for sure that is God's will? That all come to the repentance
Right.
and the knowledge of Christ, right?
Right.
So we already know that's His will.
Right.
And especially if you're unequally yoked
Mhm.
and you've accepted Christ and she hasn't, then you know that's His will
Right.
for her to be a child of God above and beyond even, because He speaks that, and He speaks that He wants her as an individual to be
Right.
His child. So what if you would just say every time when you wanted to pray that other prayer, if you were praying, thank you, Lord. I know that this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thanking you ahead of time that she is going to come to the knowledge of Christ.
Right.
You know, what if we had that mentality with what we were talking about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
And then that wouldn't hurt her. You would be looking at her every day like, is this the day that it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because God said it's going to happen. Is
Right.
this the moment? And then you wouldn't be feeling that, you need to get right with Jesus,
Right.
which
Yeah.
runs
It was-
everyone off.
Yeah.
And it was further complicated by the fact that both of us thought I was saved.
Yeah.
I mean, he did too. I spent, it was part of my personality, part of what I thought about myself. I was a Christian. But I believed that I believed fiercely in God and Jesus, but I did not put my faith in him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
believe,
you
though,
can't
I would have,
belief,
after
belief without faith.
after the something that I put in that I had when I wrote my testimony was I remember the Columbine shooting, and the girl that said yes when he asked her, "Do you believe in God?" She said yes, and that was like in my head at that point in time, I was like, I would say yes. I would, with a gun to my head, I would say yes. I believe in God and I believe in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But did I ever put my faith in Him?
Right.
Nope.
Yeah. The thing too, to go back to how I was praying for her, it took a while too for God to reveal to me that when I was praying that way, I was praying out of anger,
That's what I'm saying.
and not praying out of love.
If we change the prayer from how to fix them to what is my role in this process. So did you ever have the Jonathan and Chelsea's coming over at 10:30, going to stay till 1 o'clock in the morning conversation?
Mm-mm.
So
No, we're in bed by 9.
Well,
We're like, you guys got
well,
to go.
that's what I'm
He's
saying.
in
So-
bed by 9.
So there was a night that Jonathan was like, "Hey, are you guys up?" And I was like already in bed getting ready for work. Of course, she was still up, and I was like, "No." And he was like, "We're coming over, so we'll be there in like 5 minutes." And they came over and sat down because we were having issues like that.
Oh,
and
I know that.
You know that
Yeah.
story. And so I was wondering if you guys had one of those moments. They stayed there for like 2.5, 3 hours, and they were like, we had this big discussion at the end of it. It was very eye opening in a way that really Jonathan brings out in people. Jonathan makes you
Very uncomfortable.
It is. But what it does is it was this revelation of when you look at your situation from a third party perspective and you see like just how horrible it really is, it makes you have a desire to change. And then of course you pray about that and you move forward from that perspective. But I didn't know if that had happened to you guys or not.
We had one night, I think maybe it was our first night over there. I may be wrong, but we went over there and it was after the first. So the first, I'm sure you've heard, Jonathan, the first like real interaction, like our friendship started when we got into an argument one morning. I called her a psycho one morning,
I'm pretty sure you
and it was
you said something
dangerous.
similar to that like last night.
I don't
Oh,
think
my.
so.
You did. You asked.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you did.
I don't think
Do
so.
you remember what
They
you
can't
said?
see.
I can't say it
They
on the
can't.
air, but yeah. So
It wasn't a cuss word.
no.
Ooh.
Don't get me started on that either.
No, but so anyways, that I called her a psycho. It was done. I mean, she
I can't imagine.
was going to kill me some way or another.
Yes.
And so I left that morning to go to work, and I actually called my brother-in-law, Aaron, at the time, and I said, I'm going to be late. I went to the coffee shop, and I walked in there, and I said, Jonathan, can I talk to you? And he goes, yeah, sure, whatever. I said, can we talk in private? So we went into the broom closet. Josh loves the broom closet. We went into the broom closet, and I told him, I was like, look, I made a huge mistake. I called Josie a psycho. We were fighting, and blah, blah, blah. And he was giving me amazing spiritual advice as far as the relationship goes. I don't think I was saved yet because I was still working at MATP. I don't think I was saved yet. So, of course, he was giving me spiritual advice on how to heal my marriage, and it's just bouncing off of me like a bouncy ball.
Like, this is all dumb. I'm not going to
Yeah,
listen to this.
and I absorbed some of it. I absorbed enough to be able to apologize to her and started reading the book, Discovering the Mind of a Woman. And so anyways, a couple of weeks later we went over there, and that was like our first couples night over there, and I sat down on the couch, and Jonathan was just like unloading on me in front of her,
That's it.
and like I'm like, what?
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
And he's like, well, you blah blah. I'm like, you're like, we're friends. Come on, man. You know, and
I thought we were buds.
yeah, exactly. And it was like, yeah, we're probably not gonna go over there again.
So you did have the meeting.
It wasn't long.
You were lured into it.
Yeah.
I was sprung upon.
Yeah.
But I can say this, and I've told everybody this. Those two together are the greatest marriage counseling I have ever heard of.
Yeah.
Because they're both like, you know, because Chelsea's still very calm.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's very meek in her demeanor.
They're good cop, bad cop.
They really are. Because Chelsea's like, I see you guys and I love you and you're so sweet. And Jonathan's like, Austin, you're a monster.
Yeah. I don't want to say you're stupid, but you're stupid.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to say that I hate you, but I can't stand
Yeah, it's like, can we go back to talking to Chelsea?
Right.
Yeah. But and they work it together to where, you know, there's really no, the losers after talking with them are the people that don't take action from that point on. And you do come out feeling very much like a call to repentance, because that's really what the introduction is you feel that, like, here I am, but God is going to elevate this. He's lifting me up from that point.
I have apologized to Josie more in a year, I think, than I have in our entire 13 years of being together since I've been saved. You know, and it's just, I think that, you know, God reveals to me, and I say this a lot in forgiveness. God reveals to you your mistakes. Satan reveals to you their mistakes. And in every argument, every disagreement, if I go to God, God is going to reveal to me what I've done wrong. And I know that I need to apologize to her. And I'm pretty much transparent with her. Well, I can't say pretty much. I'm transparent with her. She knows my flaws. She knows the mistakes that I've made.
She already
knew them before you did.
Well, there were some that came up that I was not aware of that
Thanks, banking lady.
Have been a real. Oh yeah, and then the secondary. Yeah, when I'm getting our loans situated, they're like, "Oh, were you aware of this?" No, I was not. Thank you for telling me. I thought that I knew all of it after the last argument.
She goes down to the bank and she's like, "Me and you are pals."
Yeah, I know. It was terrible.
But
oh man, yeah.
I'm not going to bring up old arguments.
Yeah, but it's not. It's something though that we're aware of now that I have to be aware of, and it's something. And the forgiveness factor was a lot. I mean, it was at first it was at a scale of some financial changes he had, just some financial decisions he had made without my knowledge. It felt like I had been cheated on. It was like that level of anger at the beginning, because it was, it was a shock, and so I was like, I think I didn't talk to you for like a week, and I was like, I'm just not going to talk to you for a week, because I need time to pray. I need time to process. I need to deal with this with him. I can't deal with this with you right now. And so I did. I took like a whole week. I didn't talk to you, and by the end of that week, I was like, can we talk, but I can still be mad at you when I want to be mad at you? And he's like,
that was uncomfortable, but it worked.
But it worked, and so I had like 3 more days of that, and then we were okay. Sure. But it was. That was enough to have broken our marriage in the past. If that had happened in the past, we would have been done.
Yeah.
So
if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I don't know how the lost can stay in a relationship.
I don't know.
I have no concept.
The number one leading reason for divorce is financial.
Sure.
And then kids,
I would replace that with like a lack of Jesus.
Right?
But
so true.
I do understand where that comes from, because I look at, Savannah and I will have been married some time, March 31st. I think we've been together 5 years. I think we've been married for 3.
Just lay the shovel down.
Yeah,
move on with the conversation.
Either way, and I look at just this short period of time and the issues that we've had, and if God's hand wasn't directly involved, I'd have been out of here a long time ago, because I'm a coward and I don't like to talk about things. I don't like to work things out. I'd rather just run from problems.
Yeah.
but that's not how God works. And so,
Right.
you said that God reveals your problems. Satan reveals someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why God only reveals your problems? Because the only person that you can affect is you.
Is you.
You can't fix her problems.
Right.
Only she can do that. And really,
Right.
only Jesus through her.
Yeah.
Right.
And that works with every relationship across the board. You can see other people's flaws all day because that's Satan's like, hey, let's. I got a really good magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah.
And then when God turns it on there, He's like, so what are you going to do? What can you do?
Yeah.
You can allow me to work on you. You can't allow me to work on them because they've got
Right.
free will.
Right.
You can cut that. You can edit that out, right? Can't you?
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
She's my daughter.
Just in a completely different
How long
voice.
have we been married then? You were there.
I
Like,
was.
we've
there.
been married for nearly 5 years.
yeah, it changes the
Let me say all these
Say a
numbers
bunch of
really
numbers
quick.
and I'll put the right one in.
3,
Yeah.
4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, he's actually better at remembering our marriage stuff than I am most of the time. I'm like,
Except for the kids.
I'm pretty sure it was 10, 8, 11. That's when we got married. And 2.5 years before
Yeah.
that, we were dating.
They're like, how old are your kids? Or when were your kids born?
Oh my gosh, he
6
cannot
years
remember
ago?
their
They sure
birthdays
are.
for the life of him. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious?
It's
I mean,
like-
sometimes I
They
mess
are
up too.
alive, yes, and they
November.
are children.
Yeah,
yes.
they were born.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
Approximately
November 18,
2 years ago.
6 years ago.
These
It's
are
like the grandbabies. I can't keep up with.
well. You've got quite a few.
You've
guys.
got quite a few of them.
These are my favorite kind of podcasts because we get to discuss God in a fellowship manner. And what I mean by that is when you have a repertoire with a person prior, a lot of the questions we ask are for the sake of the listeners because we already know that, but we get a chance to sprinkle some life into the conversation. We get to talk about the things that God's doing with us, to us, and through us for that. And this is really, this is when it feels the most like just talking to friends.
Yeah.
Because it really is just talking to friends, but we get to show people the love of Christ, and this is another testimony opportunity we get because now we get to testify about God in these relationships in this setting here, and it's always just more comfortable to be able to talk to people, and to ease them into that.
I like it. I
Maybe
enjoy
next
it.
time I'll be able to actually talk without like spazzing out and forgetting all my words. So
No,
You've not slipped
thought
up
you'd done
once.
you have not.
Yeah.
my brain has been blank though, and it goes blank, and I'm like,
Well, that's what I said. You kind of get in this environment, and you're just talking to friends, and the Holy Spirit may just take over and word vomit, and you watch it later, and you're like, I cannot believe I said that, but I'm glad I did.
I would recommend just don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't.
I have not listened nor watched any of our episodes. Sadly, you have to because you edit the audio.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. God convicted me on that.
Okay.
Because I say, well, I have to, do the podcast, or I have to do this, or No, I get to. He allows
Amen.
me to.
Yeah.
Because this is the ministry that He has for us, and He allows me to be a part of His ministry.
Yeah.
And so He has convicted me of saying, well, I've got to do the podcast, or I've got to go back to church at 3, or I get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all bad about that, guilty of that,
Oh yeah.
I have to go to church.
Mhm.
I have. It's
No, I
Wednesday
get to
night. We
go.
have to go to church.
yeah.
And it's such an honor and privilege
Absolutely.
to just to be in that relationship with our Father.
Oh yeah.
And think about like other countries where they don't have the same freedoms that we do.
What if you have someone that's lost at your house, and you say, well, I have to go to church.
Mhm.
They hear
God is a
that-
burden.
they hear have to, and they hear that you're part of a cult,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're required to show
Required to.
up. It's a job.
Yeah.
That's what they hear. They don't hear. You don't say, man, I can't. I know you guys here, and if y'all want to go, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get there. And either you guys got to go with us, or what. That's totally different than saying, Well, I hate to run you guys off, but I gotta go to church.
Yeah. Well, you think about it too when you say that, like when you tell a kid you have to go to school. I don't want to go to school.
Mhm.
You have to.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then you later say we have to go to church.
Exactly.
And then think
Same
about
mentality.
the way that their brain has to switch over to being school is
You
like
shouldn't
church.
tell them they have
Church
to
is
go to
like
school. You should
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
they get, because
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people, like my mom and my dad. My dad went to 3rd grade. My mom went to 5th. They didn't get to finish. They wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
They wanted to learn. They didn't have the
They do the
opportunity,
same thing.
and so they didn't get the opportunity to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here, these kids are by law have an opportunity to get an
Yeah.
education, so they're getting to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychology behind the two phrases on that because we are programmed to defy.
Mm-hmm.
And so by having to, that's set in stone, and we don't like things set in
Mhm.
stone.
No.
And when he brought up
Yeah.
school, that's what you think of, because when you say you have to go to school, you get mad because I don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you
Pay
do.
taxes and die.
Yeah. and so that's the two things people hate most in life.
Yes.
Somebody taking my money, and I want to live forever.
Yeah.
That's the two things we're looking for.
Yeah.
And so have to. And I think of it
We
as
can
whenever
help you out with one of those. We can help you live forever.
I thought you were about to say. I was like,
Oh, paying taxes?
Yeah.
No.
I was like, cut the camera off.
Yeah.
Whenever I was living at home with my parents, typical teenager, not cleaning, whatever. And there would be times where I was like, okay, I'm gonna, do the dishes, and then mom like, hey, you gotta do the dishes. And I'm like, well, now I'm not.
Oh
gonna.
my gosh, yes. And that's like our relation. Like, he'll,
Yeah.
oh man, we run into that all the time, just in
Yeah.
like things that we say to each other, and
Yeah.
and I'm quick to like, no, then I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, like I'm immediately like, well, I was feeling that way, but now that you said
gonna sit
something, now I
back
feel
down.
different.
I'm pretty sure that was in our marriage counseling.
Yeah, probably.
Like, when you
Oh yeah, they said don't say
say
you have
need
to,
or
like
have
you need
to.
to. You need
You
to.
need to do
You
this,
should not
or
say
you
that.
have to do that.
Yeah.
It automatically it turns your mind away from that. I really like lawn care. I'm sure viewers have seen I have a sweatshirt that says yard work on it because I'm such a fan. But whenever it would be my time to mow at the house, and I'm like, hey, you got to weed it today. Like, you missed your chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was feeling it right before you said that.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's our mentality, and a lot of our life boils down to how our brain thinks we need to work, and we have to find a way to prove to our brain that God's way is better, regardless of situation. Because
Yeah.
God has have tos.
Mhm.
You have to submit. You have to have faith. You have to believe.
Yeah.
But those are easier.
Yeah.
Once you get over that hurdle of leading up, you said like the lead in to salvation was kind of a drag.
Yes.
It was a grind
Yeah.
to get up
Yeah.
there. I get you entirely on that, but once you get there, it's like what was I holding on so
Right.
long to?
Yeah.
Why
What
was I so scared?
was I grasping a hold of? What was I, and it's like we talk about the alcohol with Jonathan when he said that it was my God. It's like, really, that's what I've been holding on to, is this false idol that I drowned in every night.
I think more and more about drinking, and it blows my mind because it's like, what is it about getting sick to your stomach and waking up feeling like you've got the flu that is so appealing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't describe it, but I can still tell you that the craving is there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it never goes away.
It's such a strange thing.
But
That's addiction.
we have our escape.
We do. Thank you guys so much for being on here.
Thank you for having
I'm glad
us.
we finally got this worked out.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the devil was at every corner trying to prevent you guys from being here. If you had any issues or thoughts last night and all the lead up to it.
Yeah.
But I think it was worth it. I think it was
think
good.
so.
Very
Yeah.
beneficial.
I
And we
think
would
so.
love to have you back. And Stephen will tell you, as he's been a repeat guest, the more you're on, the less it becomes a thing, and it's just a different room to talk in.
Mm-hmm.
But fantastic. Both
It's
of
more
you.
comfortable than what it was with the big headphone and boom mic
I think the
right in
exact
your
opposite
face. It's a little
personally.
bit more relaxed.
I loved the boom mic and headphones, but that's just because that's geared for me.
Yeah.
But Sounds like we have some guests.
Oh.
Yeah, we got our kids.
Yeah, well, I'll just say I'm praying to come back on fire after Women's Prayer events, and I'll probably, hopefully, I'm praying that I'll be like, hey, can I come back?
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, absolutely. We would love to hear that. We did the large scale men's whenever they first got back. So whoever's involved, even if it's just you and Chelsea, we'd love to have you on here to have that discussion.
Promise to help somebody move.
You don't need to be there.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
That's what Jonathan was telling me. You don't need to be there.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of that.
So,
But yeah.
me and Jonathan are going to go help Megan move.
Oh, okay.
So
Chelsea
you can
and I.
be here.
Okay, cool. Then I'll be here if you have me, if you want us, if you are planning on it.
Whenever the camera's closed, we'll schedule and make sure we get the actual.
And make sure we put it on a calendar.
We've been better about that. We've been
Oh, I
communicating quite a bit frequently with that.
Yeah.
'Cause things do wrong.
Phil has been
We've had
amazing
one
with
mistake in
communication.
100 and something episodes.
Speaking of that, we have over 100 episodes now, and Joe was talking to us this morning. He said, you remember you did an episode on this topic right here? And we both kind of looked at each other like, I don't remember what last week's topic was. They all kind of blur together. That's like asking me what I preached about this morning. Sometimes I don't know. But all hearts and minds clear. You guys got everything you need to say? Philip, you cleared?
Yep.
All right, folks, we appreciate you joining us here today to meet our friends and to get an opportunity to hear about God in their lives. We appreciate you joining us. If you're watching this live, we appreciate you commenting on there. Joe, we saw you, and Dean, we saw you the whole time too. We just sometimes we can't jump in and say everything you've got for us. But we appreciate those comments. If you're listening to this recorded, we would love for you to join the comments there. You can ask us questions, add any insights to it. You can message us directly on Facebook, and we can answer you on there because we do have full access to you. We have our email address at blessingandcursing3019 if you want to do something more long form. You can comment on anywhere you can find this podcast. We can receive those as well. But by far the greatest thing you can do to help us, Stephen, do you know what it is? I say it every
comment, review,
no.
share us.
Because whenever you share this episode, it goes out to everybody that you have in your group. And what that does is that allows those people to be experiencing the same joy, the same God, and the same testimonies that we get to experience here. It's a great way to help us share the gospel and to provide peace in a world that desperately needs it. We love you. God bless you. And thank you so much.